Do you ever feel like you just don't have the time to sit down and read the news every morning? Sometimes things get so hectic you can't even scroll through your feeds while you're trying to get ready. A new podcast from Boise State Public Radio has you covered. I'm George Prentice, and I want to invite you to check out The Connector every weekday morning. You can get up to speed on all of the Idaho news you need to start your day without ever interrupting your morning routine. All you have to do is hit play. That's The Connector from Boise State Public Radio. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
From the studios of Boise State Public Radio News, I'm Gemma Cadet. This is Idaho Matters. It's never easy to buy a house. There are so many steps in the buying process, and the economy plays a big role in whether or not people can afford to actually purchase a home. First-time homebuyers can often struggle with all the market forces around what is usually the biggest purchase in your life. Jared Cook is regional manager over mortgages for Zions Bank, and he's been looking at the market trends in the Gem State with a first-time home buyer in mind. And he's joining us live now to talk more about this. Jared, welcome to the program.
Hi, Gemma. Thank you for having me.
So, Jared, can we start with what the market looks like overall right now compared to the past few years?
Yeah, the Idaho housing market has really shown resilience the last couple of years. Usually when mortgage interest rates rise, especially how they have the last couple of years, you'd normally see home prices decline. And really, that's not what we're seeing. And actually, even the latest data from Zillow showed that the Idaho housing market rose 2% last year. Most of the demand is coming from either first-time home buyers or buyers still relocating to Idaho. And here at Zions Bank, 70% of our applicants last year were first-time home buyers.
Wow,
And
so 70%.
Yes. Yeah, 70% of them were first-time home buyers.
So can we talk about you call these four market trends that people should watch this year in particular? So I want to start with the first one. So can we talk about what you mean by that we are shifting towards a more balanced market? So first, what is that, and why is that potentially good for buyers?
Yeah, so a balanced market is usually it's kind of measured by realtors as saying that you have a 6-month supply of housing out there. Right now, we're not quite 6 months. I think the most recent one I saw was around 4 or 5 months. But compared to what we saw during the pandemic, there was no housing inventory, and that's why you saw home prices skyrocket the way that you did. So a balanced market is really what you want to have. It provides opportunities both for the seller and for the buyer instead of just a one-way street where it was just for the sellers during the pandemic.
So is a balanced market more predictable and stable?
It is. It is. That's really what you want it to be, is that balanced market. And that's historically where we have been in the past.
So the second thing on your list to watch is inventory, and you just mentioned this. But again, can you talk about the fact that, as you mentioned, we are seeing more houses on the market? Do you know who is selling? Because as you mentioned, during the pandemic, we didn't see any of that because, nobody was selling.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the ones that are selling right now are people that have to sell. Not very many homeowners want to get rid of their mortgage interest rates that they currently have. Most people are either between 2 or 4% on their 30-year fixed mortgage rates. And so it's going to take some time to really build that inventory from those sellers. But some of our builders have done a really good job of getting more inventory out there. And you are going to still have people that have to move, right? Whether it be a major life milestone, say that they're retiring and want to downsize, or they're retiring and moving to a different state. People are getting married, they're having a family, they might want a bigger home. So those types of things will help expand that inventory over time.
And how does having more homes to choose from, not just help buyers, but as you mentioned, give us that more balanced market trend?
Yeah, so what it does is it gives both sellers and buyers kind of equal negotiating power. And what it will do is really kind of keep home prices in that realistic, maybe 1 to 5% appreciation per year instead of what we've seen during the pandemic. When you don't have that inventory, what happens is what happened during the pandemic, where you see, exponential rise of home prices. So you really want that balanced market. Some of the challenges, though, with the balanced market still is we just don't have enough housing compared to the demand that we have. So we do need to continue to build here in Idaho. And like I said, a lot of our home builders are doing a really good job with that.
Can we talk mortgage rates next? Where are the rates right now as we speak?
Yeah, national average, I think today, I just pulled it up, was 6.75%. And it's kind of expected this year to kind of be between 6 and 7%. It depends on which expert or which association you go to that really kind of drives the difference between those.
So with that said, can we talk higher rates that we've been seeing and how that has impacted the housing market?
Yeah, historically speaking, where we're at is really just kind of your average rates for a home mortgage now. What we saw during the pandemic was definitely not your normal, right? We had to drop interest rates dramatically to hopefully not go into a major recession. And so what that did is it brought down mortgage rates, because mortgage rates usually follow the 10-year treasury. And the 10-year treasury at one point was, I think, 0.5%. So that's why you saw the mortgage rates as low as they were. But going back to current times, really 6 to 7% is that normal interest rate environment.
So how has, though, when we saw those historically low interest rates, how has that impacted, maybe people coming in and saying, well, gosh, I mean, I want to pay, that again, I want to pay 1%. I don't want to pay 6 or 7%. And maybe not recognizing that historically we saw interest rates, you go back 30, 40 years, they were exponentially higher than 6 to 7%.
Yeah, correct. I think my first time buying a home back in early 2000s, I think I was a 7 or 8% interest rate. But they have been historically even a lot higher than that. I think my parents' first home was 18%.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
yeah.
any chance that higher rates help some home buyers?
Yeah. So the higher rates, what they're doing is putting a cap on home price appreciation. So it does make it a more balanced market so that home buyers are out there able to negotiate more. So they might be able to negotiate the price, although we haven't seen as much negotiations on the price. But we have seen a lot of sellers and home builders be willing to pay for closing costs and pay for discount points, which discount points are used to either permanently or temporarily buy down the interest rate for the home buyer.
So I would think too that if you have higher rates, maybe you're not going to see these competitive bidding wars that we saw all over, in particular in the Treasure Valley, really up until recently.
Correct. We haven't seen much in that. We haven't seen multiple offers in quite some time. I'd say it's been about a year since I've heard about it from any of our home buyers.
So last on your list is the price of a home. let's talk about where home prices are right now. You mentioned this in the beginning of our conversation that, again, to get to that balanced market, you don't want home prices to be skyrocketing to make them unattainable. So where are we in regards to the housing prices? Is the cost going up? Is it stabilizing?
Yeah, they've stabilized quite a bit the last couple of years. Like I mentioned earlier, the most recent Zillow data had us appreciating at 2% for Idaho. And really, I think that's probably what you'll see with, the next year or two. Until we get more inventory, it's just kind of going to be this status quo, right? One thing has to give. Either home prices are going to need to give, or mortgage interest rates are going to have to give to change that dynamic that we have currently.
I have just about 2 minutes left with you, and I want to get to first-time home buyers. Can you talk to us? How do people navigate this? I mean, are there programs out there? What advice do you have for these new home buyers?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. First off, I'd say make sure that you're shopping around. Mortgage banks, regular banks, credit unions, mortgage brokers, they all have different programs, and they're going to have different rates. So make sure you're shopping it. Some of the programs out there, I can quickly just touch base on a couple of them for you. Fannie and Freddie have a 3% down first-time home buyer program. The Idaho Housing Finance Association, they have a great program that's only 0.5% of your own funds. This is a first and second mortgage. That way you're not coming with as much down payment, where the Fannie and Freddie ones are 3% down. And then certain banks like Zion's Bank, we have special programs. We have one called our Affordable Home Loan Program, where it's a 3% down, but we pay the mortgage insurance on it, which really can save borrowers a lot of money in that way. So really, I would say make sure that you're shopping it around, make sure you talk to multiple people, get some loan estimates, and look at the difference between the loan estimates.
Good advice, because it can be overwhelming to be a first-time home buyer. So I appreciate your time today, Jared. We've been speaking with Jared Cook. He is the regional manager over mortgage for Zion's Bank. We've been talking about trends that we will be seeing in the market, in particular here in Idaho the coming year, but also some good advice for those folks who may be first-time home buyers. This is the Idaho Matters podcast. I'm Gemma Gaudet.